All right, so let's get into some direct proportion word problems. So this one shows a table, and it's showing the number of hours that a factory works or production line and how many calculators they produce. So for example, when the production line is working for 12 hours, that company, those workers can make 30 calculators. In 24 hours, they can make 60, and in 30 hours, they can create 75. So let's figure out what we have to do here. It says tell whether n is directly proportional to t. So we want to know is the number of calculators proportional to t. If it is, give the constant and tell what it represents in this situation. Then write the equation. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is say yes or no. So let's remember that generic equation. I told you it was y equals question mark x. So that was the generic one. In this specific word problem, if you notice, we're not using y and x. We're using t and n. So if it says, is n directly proportional to t, we're going to write, instead of y and x, we're going to say n equals the mystery amount t. So we're not going to use this one. We use the one in blue. So the first thing we have to do is we have to look at the table. And we want to ask ourselves, 12 times what is 30? Whatever that is, okay, either 12 times something or 12 divided by something will give us 30. Whatever that is, it has to be same for the middle as well as the one on the end. Now, obviously, 12 times something, an integer, is not 30. So remember, though, that mystery, because that number we come up with is going to be the question mark. It's allowed to be a decimal. It's allowed to be a fraction. You are allowed to use a calculator for these. So instead of saying 12 times what is 30, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say 30 divided by 12. So you can do that. You can do bottom divided by top. So 12 does not go into 3, but 12 goes into 30 2 times. That's 24. Subtract, we get a 6. Bring down a 0. Put our decimal point. 12 times 5 is 60. So I got 2.5. So right now I'm guessing that we would say times 2.5. That will give us 30. This has to be accurate, though, for everything. So I'm going to check. What is 24 times 2.5? So that would be 20, 10, 12. Add a 0, that's an 8, and that's a 4. Add across, 0, 0, 1, that is 6. Move the decimal once, we get 60. So it works for that one, it works for that one. So again, we have to say, what is 30 times 2.5? Because remember, it's got to work for everything. So 0, 15, add 0, 0, 6. We're going to add up. 0, 5, 7, move the decimal once, so it works. So therefore, we verified this is a direct proportion using the 2.5. So here's what I'm going to do now. Let me erase all of this. And erase that. All right, so we know 2.5 is our mystery. So right away, we have to say yes. We answer that it is a direct proportion. What is the constant? The constant would be 2.5. What does 2.5 represent in this specific problem? 2.5 is saying that's how many calculators they can make in 1 hour. So that's what that 2.5 is representing. In 1 hour, they can make 2.5 calculators. So obviously you can't make a half a calculator, but if you could, that's how much time it would require. To write the equation, this, our constant, goes in for the mystery amount. So to write the equation, it would be n equals 2.5 t. So however many hours you plug in for t, you multiply that by 2.5, and that gives you how many calculators. So if they were to work for 100 hours, 100 hours times 2.5 would be 250. So they can make 250 calculators in 100 hours, and so forth. So I'd be looking for all three of these items right here, plus an explanation. On Schoology, I do not make you guys do the explanations, though. All right, for this one, it says A is directly proportional to B. A is 14 when B is 42. Write a direct proportion equation that relates them. So what we have to do here, these are a little bit different than what you guys have been working with. We have to figure out what is that question mark. So again, I said the generic one was always y equals question mark x. In this specific problem, we're going to be using A equals question mark B, because that's the variables they're using in this problem. So we have to figure out what this question mark is. So let's use the information they gave us. So we're going to plug in 14 for A equals question mark, and then instead of a B, we're going to put 42. So remember, this question mark and 42 are being multiplied. We just want the question mark. So we want to get rid of times by 42. To get rid of multiplying by 42, you will divide both sides by 42. That cancels. So we have now 14 over 42 equals some number. That's what the question mark is representing. This is our constant of variation right here. So we want to reduce this. So if we're going to do as a fraction, half of 14, I'm going to write it over here. Half of 14 is 7. Half of 42 is 21. But that still reduces. 7 goes in the both. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So your constant of proportion is 1/3, or this is the question mark. So we want to take this and plug it back in to this equation for the question mark, and that will be your answer. Now there's a number of ways you could actually write this. One of them would be A equals 1/3 B. Another way you could do it is A equals B over 3, because remember, timesing by 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3. Another way that you could technically probably get away with, because 1/3 technically is 0.33, you could do 0.33b. Any one of these would work. Technically, I would prefer the fraction ones compared to the decimal, because 1/3 is a it's gonna keep repeating forever. So just pay attention on Schoology whether I say to represent it as a decimal or as a fraction, or some of them I say you can do either one. But especially if it was multiple choice, just if you get 1/3, be sure if you get 0.3333 to convert that to 1/3. All right, so this one says the admission fee to museum is $8.50 per person. Given the admission fee, which is C dollars, is directly proportional to the number of people N, identify the constant of proportionality and write a direct proportion equation. Okay, so again, the generic one I always talked about was y equals question mark x. In our specific problem, though, we're not using y and x. We are going to be using C equals some number times N. So we don't want this one. We're going to use this one right here. So it says that it is a direct proportion. We have to find the constant. The constant is the question mark. So we want to think here. N is representing the number of people. C is the total cost in dollars. Each person has to pay $8.50. So it would be $8.50 times the number of people giving you the cost. This right here is your constant. Therefore, to write the equation, it's just C equals 8.5 N. That's it. Technically, if you have 8.50 N, that's okay too. A lot of times the price per person or amount per item, that is the rate. That's the constant. This one looks like it's a challenge. It's super easy. All right, this one says the amount Brian earns is directly proportional to the number of hours he works. If Brian earns $60.80 for 4 hours of work, find the constant of proportionality and write a direct proportion equation. So remember, to write the direct proportion, y equals mystery times x. The constant, again, is this number. So in this specific problem, it looks similar to the last one, but it's a little different because it's telling us how much he earned, but it's also saying how much time he worked. So this amount is how much he earned for 4 hours. The constant of proportionality, or a mystery, is not the amount he earns in 4 hours, but how much he would earn in 1 hour. So to find that out, we're going to simply do $60.80 divided by 4. So 4 goes into 6 once. 4, subtract, bring down your 0. 4 goes into 25 times. That's a 20. Subtract 0, bring down your 8. Notice I put my decimal point up there. 4 goes into 8 2 times. Subtract, you get a 0. So $15.20 is what he earns per hour. So he worked 4 hours. He earned the $6.80 because his rate was $15.20 per hour. Now we're just going to write our equation. This is going in for the mystery. Y equals 15.2x. Now I used y and x because if you look at the problem, they did not specify which variables to use. Technically, you can use any variables you want. I just like to always go to y and x because I think it's easiest. But you could absolutely create your own variables. The important thing is that you have 15.2 as your constant. If you got questions, let me know. Well, see you later. Bye.